Hey everyone, thanks for hanging around. My name is Nathan Good. I'm the CEO of AppCensus, and I have the privilege of working with a very, very talented, excited team in the space of mobile application analysis and behavior, looking to protect people in the worlds of privacy and security. This is an area we're all very, very passionate about, and especially when you're looking at mobile app security and privacy, you have to look at what's called a software development kit, or a third-party software development kit, our tools, our libraries. We found in our analysis they make up about 85% of any apps given code on average. So when you're looking at the Play Store, for all those apps out there, about 85% of it is code that they have not written. And that's the effort that we're working here with CISA and DHS on, is incorporating that information into the software bill of materials, or the SBOM. So SDKs, what are they and why are they so hard? Well, a lot of the functionality that people and developers use in a modern app come from the software development kit. And they come from these SDKs. That's how you build out your various different capabilities, from analytics to different functionality. They all come from there. And so it's very, very important to understand it because they're the building blocks of software. Despite this, they're opaque. You have no idea what these things are doing most of the time. You don't have access to the source code. You may even have limited documentation. And as people kind of pull these building blocks together, it's incredibly difficult to really know what they're actually doing. What makes it super fun is that they're incredibly risky and you're liable for all of it. So whether you're building your own application, incorporating these software development kits, or you're deploying them into your environment or your store, it's all something that you're responsible for. And so I'm going to walk you through how our system will look at this in the context of generating an SBOM and looking at it and identifying CVEs. So this is analysis of a real app that at the end of it, the deployment of it fails because we detect an CVE associated with a specific SDK. So the app here is shaded out to not protect the non-innocent. And as you can see, there's a bunch of SDKs that pop up that we detected automatically without access to the source code. And for each one of these SDKs, we're able to kind of determine what sort of those behaviors are, what sort of data it's accessing, what sort of issues are at hand. And we're able to associate this information with a CVE that came from NIST. And we then sort of look at this in the context of a deployment pipeline, where you're trying to sort of roll this information out either as part of a development pipeline, or you're trying to push this out as part of some part of your ecosystem. And as part of that, where you look at this dynamically, statically, we run this analysis on it, we generate that SBOM, and then what happens at the end is we find out that there is this CVE. And because of that, the job fails, you're not able to deploy it, and that information is all sort of contained and encapsulated in information that you can pull into your development environment. You can understand, like, okay, what really happened, and more importantly, like, what third-party SDK was this associated with, what sort of behaviors does it have, and so you can assess whether or not that functionality is something you can get elsewhere, whether that's too risky for you, and you can figure out how does this actually work with your app ecosystem and whether there's alternatives. So in the words of one of the greatest cybersecurity experts ever, Ron Burgundy, these SDKs are kind of a big deal. And what we do at AppCensus is we are able to take an app, break it apart, figure out what these SDKs are, what their functionality is, what they're actually doing behind the scenes, and be able to give that information to people so they can better reason about the privacy, security, and safety of their apps. So if that's something of interest to people, we're happy to be helping this SBOM effort, and we feel it's a very important part of the SBOM effort in general because these components are so crucial to the makeup of today's modern applications. So if that's of interest, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, thanks again. Question, people?
So Nathan, thank you for this. CISA just published a document saying that we need to extend SBOMs to third-party calls and cloud applications. Obviously, it's a big part of the mobile application space is how am I calling outside the app? Where's this data going? It's very relevant for national security as we start to worry about certain countries getting access to data. Is that something that you've integrated or thinking about integrating into your mobile app analysis, is just third-party calls, API calls?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as part of the entire sort of analysis of third-party, of SDKs, I mean, a lot of that is third-party necessarily. And that's, you know, as I said earlier, about 85, some cases, 90% of the code is all third-party code. And it's all going to third-party endpoints. It's all using sort of third-party functionality. And yeah, that's a major focus of what we're doing. Oh boy, are there surprises. There's a lot of things that are going on. These things are very opaque in the sense that you can't really see what's happening. And they rely on lots of different other libraries. And it's a big point of concern when you're building software.
Okay, you talked about the security part, you know, checking the CVE.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the privacy part of it?
Oh, absolutely. I can talk a lot about it. Part of the issue that we see a lot with the third-party development kits is there's certain types of information, especially the way that we run it, we're looking at how they function dynamically as they would for a user. And the types of data collection that they're doing, the types of side channels that they're doing. So for example, location information is something that you see a lot of. And it's not as just straightforward as like, do they have a location permission? There's all sorts of ways that people can infer location, and they can get around this even if you don't do it, if you don't explicitly grant it, and we look at all of those patterns. And so a lot of the stuff that we're looking on the privacy side has a lot of overlap with security as well, because you're looking at data access, you're looking at data exfiltration, you're looking at ways that people are getting around security controls or permissioning controls in order to access information. And then you're also looking at like what they can infer on it. And so all of those data related questions have big security implications as well, but are certainly very, very important for privacy.
Similar question to the last company, like how do you anticipate the user using this product? You know, to that last point about privacy, you know, it could be a really interesting tool in terms of understanding, you know, your legal boundary when dealing with regulation and, you know, risk and compliance. In addition to security, could be very curious about that type of thing. But, you know, as you all built out, who did you envision to be the end user? How are they going to use the product, and to what benefit to their organization?
Yeah, we have a bunch of different types of customers. We have customers that are anywhere from platforms who are running 10 to 20,000 apps a day looking for these types of signals. And then we also have customers that only have like 1 or 2 apps who are like, I need to understand my liability and the potential issues I'm incurring when I'm using all these third parties, especially as they sort of outsource development in various different cases. And they're like, I have no idea what these third parties that they're using are doing and how that impacts my assessment, especially when that company is highly reliant on one app. And so from the end user perspective, 2 sort of really interesting things fall out of this. One is that in the privacy space in particular, people's understanding of what is a privacy issue is very sort of immature. And so we can certainly give people tons of data, and we do. There's a little API where you can like download everything, and that's all fun, and that makes people smile. But the types of issues that we found are really important are really explaining to people why something is a problem. And we have a UI and we have some customized reporting, but that's an ongoing sort of education effort almost, is helping people sort of understand, hey, when we say that this is, you know, inferring location, what does that actually mean? And how does that sort of impact your compliance stat? The way that I kind of think about it with people is there's 3 sort of things that have to line up for a privacy problem. There's your practice, that's what you're actually doing. There's the policies, which is both sort of regulatory, your internal discussion, as well as whatever you have to adhere to as part of like the platform you're deploying to. And then there's the promises you're making. Like you're saying, okay, we're collecting this, we're not collecting this, we're doing that. And you got to kind of line all those up. And so the user interfaces that we have try to attempt to do that, but there's also sort of an ongoing education effort because people are very sort of unaware of all the implications in this space. Cool.